Here we go. Okay, everybody. I think almost everybody knows Karen Pierce Gonzalez. She's an amazing artist and an amazing poet, and she does them together. And I look at her art and I think I'm looking at, I think I'm hearing poetry. And I read her poetry and I think I'm looking at art. So she's
Oh,
really got it down. I'm honored to be a friend and to be able to do this with her. And with that, Karen, tell us what's new and take it away.
okay, great. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. I am delighted to host this creative Canadian artist, writer, Jenny Wong, here this afternoon. So you'll get a chance to see why I think her work is so great. Before we get going, a little bit of housekeeping. I would like everyone to mute if you are not speaking. That would be very helpful, number one. Number two, I will throughout the course of the program, the afternoon, be posting several times links to Jenny and her special friends. So you don't have to worry about how can you get in touch with them or ask them during a certain time because we have it set up so that information will be delivered to you several times in the chat. Is everyone here familiar with the chat? I know sometimes people aren't. So if you know how to open the chat, then you can cut and paste the information I'm going to put in. Secondly, the format of the afternoon will be a presentation by Jenny, which I'm really excited about. She will introduce her special friends. And then we open up, we'll have a Q&A, excuse me, before she introduces her special friends. We'll have a short Q&A with her, and then her special friends will be invited to read, and then there will be an open mic. I ask during her featured reading, you do not chat back and forth about how to get in touch with her or anyone else because it distracts from the reading. And people then are multitasking, having to read a chat while Jenny's trying to give us her art. So I would request that we hold off on chatting unless it's essential during that time so she gets the attention her work deserves. Okay? So, and one final note, many of you, like Amrita, have exciting poetry news to share. Please do so in the chat. I would like you to do it while we are getting ready to introduce either, well, let's say after the special friends, we'll have a little moment or two before the open mic. And at that time, please put in the chat links to your books, your website, so that others can access it. And that way you have a chance to share it, but it doesn't cut away from the attention and focus that the readers deserve to have at this time. Does that sound good to everyone? Is that pretty clear? Okay, I see two people are nodding. I'd love to see everyone nod. Shauna, I know you're a pro at this stuff, so you know what I'm talking about, right? Okay, with this, I would like to introduce you to someone I met several years ago through her poetry films. During the pandemic, Jenny Wong created a series of micropoems. I guess you would call them micropoems, right? And yes, Rita, that's great. If you could do me a favor and save that until we hit the open mic period, that would be really great so that people will know how to access your information. Thank you. I met Jenny through her poetry films, micro poems during the pandemic, and was taken away by the creativity. So it's a thrill to be here with her today and to have traveled with her through her debut chapbook of poetry and her upcoming prose poetry book, and yet even more films, some of which she's going to share today. So I'm going to read briefly what somebody else had to say about her. You don't know. Yeah, Jenny, there's always surprises with me. So it was, you don't, somebody else had to say about her, and then I'll tell you what she has to say about herself. Pinhole publisher, Pinhole poetry publisher, Aaron Bedford, responsible for presenting the first debut collection of poetry that Jenny has under her title, says about her book, Shiftings and Other Coordinates of Disorder. It's a lost and found box of moments that capture how it feels to be looking for something in the world, in others, and in ourselves. Written with curiosity and thoughtfulness, Jenny Wong's poems point out the wonder of new places and refresh our views of all that once seemed so familiar. And to that, I would add, she does it sublimely so in every sense of the word. So Jenny Wong is a writer, so much more than that. I mean, that one little word doesn't do it. A traveler, an occasional business analyst. Her favorite places to wander are Tokyo alleys, Singapore hawker centers, and Parisian cemeteries. Today, this award-winning poet is going to read selections from Shiftings and Other Coordinates of Disorder, published by Pinhole Poetry Press, and her soon-to-be released Light Chemical Sea by Bull City Press. She will also be sharing some of her very special films, and I know you'll enjoy them as much as I do. Her work has been selected for Best Microfiction 2025 and has been nominated for the Pushcart Prize, the Best of the Net Anthology, Best Small Fiction Awards, Best Microfiction, the Forward Award Prize, Best Single Poem Written, and she does all that in the Canadian landscape she lives in near the Rocky Mountains. So Jenny, what would you like to start with? Can you take it away, girlfriend?
I sure can. Thank you, Karen, so much for that wonderful introduction and that surprise. That was lovely to hear from Erin. And a big thank you to North Bay Poetics for having me here and giving us space to share our words. And a big hello to everyone else. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate all of you taking your time to be here and to share in art, which is a wonderful thing. I will start right away with this. This is the first chapbook. This is my debut poetry collection, Shiftings and Other Coordinates of Disorder. It was published in 2024 by, as Karen has alluded to, a lovely Canadian press called Pinhole Poetry. I'm very pleased to announce it's actually in its second edition now, which is just mind-blowing and very awesome. And I highly recommend, if anyone is looking for a chapbook press that wants to work with you and have a shared vision with you and surprise you even as to how they can make your work look great. And I highly recommend them. They're open for chapbooks readings, I think in the fall. So definitely keep them on your radar if you're interested. So I'd like to draw attention to, again, the work of the chapbook. These flyleaves are maps, actually from two places. There's one in the front and one in the back. And the reason why I'm showing these is because the first one is a map from Lisbon, and the last one is a map from the Imperial City, or the Imperial Palace in Tokyo, Japan. And these flyleaves bookend the collection so well because the poems start in Lisbon and they go through a couple places and they do actually end in Japan. So I am going to kind of tie that together as well, because there's one poem that I wrote in Japan, but it was inspired by a piece of artwork that I saw in a Japanese museum about Lisbon. So those two ends kind of connected in this one poem. So I will begin reading now. This poem is entitled Notes from the Subterranean Art Museum, Osaka, Japan. The olive grove and a catalyst of mountain gates, my head caught between landscapes, watched by a giant fish with a light bulb eye. There are no pens allowed, no ink to be spilled, only a hidden sweetness, a smell of dried sour plums seeping between the parched cracks in the floor. The sign calls it Portugal, but the colors are altered or gone. There's no sea of red roofs, no slither of blue tissue, no tiled streets in mermaid scales or limestone stars. Only snow, with smudges of peeled orange on the side and swirls of black garbage bags beneath. How can that be the same world? A sadness of a white autumn, a cultivation of small hurricanes down south. Thank you. All right, so we started in Japan, and I love traveling. So while going out and spending time in cities brings me a lot of inspiration, sometimes it's those quiet moments just sitting in the hotel room when my mind finally settles and becomes present. So, Karen, get ready. This brings us to our first poetry film. This poem was written in Lisbon in the morning after we had landed, so I am completely jet lagged. It's we went from Canada to London down to Lisbon, so altogether it was almost like 14 hours in transit. So it was a long time. But with jet lag, what I kind of love is it kind of wakes me up really early in the morning. And I woke up and I looked out onto the street and it was dead quiet. This was a street that was filled with shops and restaurants and they were open till late in the night. But it was just this one moment where it felt like there was no one else up on the entire street but me. And so that's where I wrote this poem. Full disclosure, though, the hotel in the poem is not the place in Lisbon, but if you want, you can imagine that it is. And Karen, please take it away. Overseas, I lie awake again, attempt to reconcile the hollows of old debts. I think of inheritance, parents, grandparents, the way my fourth toenail curves instead of flattens, my susceptibility to sleepless nights, the ineptitude of my lungs when I run. And yet there's something deeper, an innocent thievery, absent of intent. A time when my bones stole calcium from my mother's bones, whose bones stole from her mother's bones. How far back does this legacy go? How far have these minerals traveled? My great-grandmother had a streak of white hair even before she crossed the ocean. Perhaps as we get older, our skeletons begin to show. There is something inside me that eats away any desire for stillness. And perhaps this is why I wander. Something in my bones, looking for home. All right, thank you very much. Thank you so much, Karen, for queuing that up for me. I hope you like that first one. There's two more coming up. So we've been to Japan and we've been to Lisbon. So we're going to get a little closer to home, and I'm slowly working my way back home. We have some dear friends who live around the Kitsilano area in Vancouver, Canada. For those that know, it's right by the ocean. It's a very, very beautiful, magical place in Canada and less cold. So that's also a very big bonus. So I've been to Kitts Beach a lot. And while it may be packed during the day because it is a big tourist destination for a lot of people in Vancouver, the mornings and the evenings, it's actually quite lovely. So I'm going to read another poem, and it's called At Kitsilano Beach. I come early, before sunscreen and sand, precipitate over miles of skin, before portable nets catch spikes and volleys of sunlit sound. I seek the closest thing to winter, to feel the chill of water unravel warmth from between splayed fingers and shredding knees. While the ocean teaches me again that submergence is the allowance of one body to inhabit another, even if just for a breath, the width of a rib cage expanded. So, thank you. Thank you. So throughout the chapbook are poetry snapshots of different places. Obviously, as I said, we're getting to home. And so that's going to bring us to our next poetry film, which I'll talk a little about while Karen cues up for me. And this one is also a special request by Karen. It's called Tunnel Vision. And it was inspired and written and actually filmed. So this one is actually on location filmed along what we call the Bow Valley Parkway in the Rocky Mountains, which is a stretch of highway that they actually close about 2 times a year, once in the spring and once in the fall. And you can actually ride your bike down this stretch of highway. And it's absolutely amazing because you're all alone. There's no cars, so you don't have to worry about something like zooming and nearly clipping you off the road. But it's such a beautiful experience to just have this wide open road and it's you riding along the trees and the mountains. And I tried to capture that in this film. So everyone, this is Tunnel Vision. On today's bike ride, I deal with the same worries about riding alone on these unknown roads, aware of my own peaks and valleys, my 4 corners of bone, elbows, knees, and their thin coverings of cloth and skin. I think about falling, when focus unpins and seconds split like atoms. I remember that not everything is fatal upon impact. My skull is still encased in its helmet, which is a version of a tunnel's mouth, and I must emerge beyond the confines of molded sides to view my surroundings as they are: burnt trees, splinters and ends, things overtaken by fire, things too rooted in their anxious soils to let go.
Jenny, unmute yourself.
Thank you, Karen. So now we're going to be in kind of the home part of the poetry book, where there's a couple of poems I do write when I'm not traveling and I'm back at home. And they're actually a poem pair. They were both written pretty much back to back in a very, very unusually rainy late summer. We don't get a lot of rain during our summers. Our lawns are we're very prone to fires, and our lawns are very dry. But this summer, it was a little unique in that we were blessed with a lot of rain. So they're a pair. One I'm going to read, and then after that, the next one will be the last poetry film I'll be showing you. So August storms. This is the month where I learn about burnout, and the sun becomes a live match centimeters from the skin. While shingles singe on rooftops, the tarmac melts down along the edges, and a shaken soda sits on the counter, bottled neck ready to burst. He tells me he's going out and doesn't know when he'll be back. Despite this heat, ice has a particular burn. The lawns have begun to disintegrate into brittle lessons about primary colors. Observe what happens to green when there is no longer blue. Feel the prick of parched, dry yellow. When scientists announce that rainwater is no longer safe, air conditioners gasped through sweating metal gills. Highways screeched with friction and brakes. The clouds continue to grumble and darken, heavy with unpronounceable toxins and undrinkable rain. Thank you. So Karen, if you'll cue up the last one, I will do a little preamble for that one. So the first poem, August Storms, is just basically it was very dry, and then we're heading into the rainfall. And then this next one, it's a film called August Storms Again, we're heading, basically it's been a couple days of rain. And this is an older poetry film back when I was a little shy about showing these, and I didn't really announce them. And it's a little bit different. It's kind of a single take on a rainy evening. And but I still thought it would be a good one to show. So everyone, this is August Storms Again. August storms again. Tonight, headlights surge through storm, unaware that I am performing my indoor existence in silence, because the roof of my mouth shelters such an unsophisticated beast, content to be held in the space between raindrops, a muscle between teeth, watching the underside of poems bloom on the glass. Okay, thank you, Karen. All right, so one of the reasons why I picked that poem to be last, it's going to be the last one I read from this collection, because it sets the mood for where I'm going to read next, which is my upcoming flash fiction book called Light Chemical Sea. And yes, I did say flash fiction, and I know this is a poetry reading, but and it should be out at the end of this year, beginning of next, hopefully, fingers crossed. But while it is mostly a flash fiction collection, I did sneak a few pieces which in my heart I feel may be poems, and I hope you do too. The first poem I'm going to read is called The Cartographers. The cartographers say my nose is a landmark, a low bridge that is crossed in order to arrive at their first conclusions. From there, they sketch in my origins, guess the vowels that will untwist from my southbound lips, predict the names of my indoor plants. They will not see the white in my hair as a tired moon threaded through night, or the salt-tinged oasis that wells across my face in the dark. To speak up is a bend in the knee, an acquiescence to their crooked parallels and unwanted latitudes. So I do not give them words, feed them only silence. And they make small notes in the margins regarding poor articulation. In a quiet corner, they assign a broken compass that must always point overseas. I am landscape locked in observation, a map of drawn conclusions and labels. But what is unable to be captured is the movement of their lips along my paper edges, and this weary shadow that grows whenever I am mouthed. Thank you. So a little bit more about Light Chemical Sea is the reason why it's titled that is there's three sections, obviously light, chemical, and sea, and the pieces that I pick for each section kind of tie back to the theme of one of those three things. And that was actually how I ended up choosing which which pieces would go into this flash fiction collection. It just seemed to fit well. The next two I'm going to read are what I call the dog poems, because they're about my pup, and they were written during COVID when we weren't traveling at all, and we were doing a lot of travels around Alberta in our own backyard, and I actually really enjoyed that time, and I think it kind of taught me that we should be doing more of that as well, just enjoying what we have around us, because we have so much. So the first one is called When I Let My Dog Out in the Middle of the Night. Usually he will come in, obedient after fulfilling his duties. But tonight he ignores the open door, lingers at the edge of the deck where porch light slips beneath darkness like a shore into black sea. He looks at me, aging clouds in his eyes, asks if I will join him, asks to go further out into the night. I leave the house, take 3 steps, before hesitation begins to make its inevitable lists. The impending weight of an oncoming workday, the alarm clock that must endure 2 more hours before unleashing its insistent sounds, the vulnerability of bare feet in the dark. So I recall our bodies back inside, leave our longings outdoors to weather down into undistinguishable forms. We return to bed, but refuse our typical patterns, our usual positions for sleep. Instead, his head on my hand, my head against his side. We speak to each other through the small collapses of our ribs, release ourselves from the definitions of our daily shapes. Goodest boy, quiet girl. 2 beasts who understand that even the gentlest of breaths was never meant to be held for so long. Thank you. All right. And for the last poem, as I said, it's kind of what I call the dog poems. I am going to, Karen, I know you said nothing in the chat, but I am going to see if I can. Nope. There is a, so as I said, we were traveling around in our own backyard, and there is a a river that we went to up in Lethbridge, Alberta, called Old Man River. And it's I've been meaning to make a poetry film of here, because it's such a stunning location with old growth trees and a trestle bridge and just this giant wide open river winding around some hoodoos. It's absolutely stunning. So I will continue on for the next poem.
Wait a minute, Jenny, do you want to share an image? Is it an image?
It is an image.
Why don't you see if you can screen share it?
Okay, I'll do that.
And it's not that you can't post in the chat. I just want the focus to be on your presentation.
It's giving me an error when I
Okay.
try to screen
You want to
share.
send it to me, and by the time you're done reading the poem, I'll post it up.
Okay, let me try one more time to paste it in here,
Okay.
and then I will send it to you right now.
Okay, great.
Okay, hang on. Okay, I think we're going to leave it, but maybe if there's some time afterwards, I will post it in there. That's what happens when you switch computers right before talk. Anyways, sorry about the technical difficulties, everyone. This is called Old Man River. The dog enjoys his evening walk, a white tail in tall grass. Beavers knit their homes along the edges. Water widens in the curves, slows down. I want to age like this river. Let the clay that surrounds me erode without judgment. become so beautiful that no one will feel a need to question my origins. And every night, I'll look up and watch clouds temper their softness in the glow of a day's final light. But for now, the dog barks and turns towards home. In the dimness, the river becomes unseen, a voice that whispers beside us. Thank you, everyone. That's
Wow.
it.
Why don't you unmute everyone and applaud this mistress of the word and the
Good
image.
job, Jenny.
Yeah,
Jenny.
It was
Bravo.
gorgeous,
Great
gorgeous,
job.
Jenny.
Love it, love it.
great job.
I'm gonna put in the
Bravo.
chat right now her contact information. For anybody who wants it, I'll put it again later. Before I slide into a Q&A, anybody have anything you want to say to Jenny after hearing the work, or comments you'd like to make to her directly? Please feel free to do so.
I just want to say your films were just spectacular. So
thank you.
enjoyable, along with your, your reading voice is just lovely and so creative. I'm just awed. I want to know more. Thank you so much.
I agree. Shauna, I've got her contact information in the chat if you want to connect with her later. Okay. And anyone else? Thoughts, comments? I, of course, enjoyed it, but I always do, so.
I have a question because I went to Pinhole Press and I couldn't find your book.
Oh yeah, you have to scroll down. So they've had a couple of cohorts after mine. So I would be in the spring of 2024. I think I'm about the fourth book from the bottom. So if you go to the
Just
chapbook.
on the homepage?
No, it should be, if you click on chapbooks, it should be there.
Rita, I can help you find it later so we can spend
Wonderful,
time
thank
answering
you.
questions instead
Sure,
of doing
that'd be
this.
wonderful, thank you.
I was going to put this on the view where you can see everybody, and it disappeared. Does anybody have any idea why the button disappeared? Where it might, here it is. I found it.
That's good. I have a
No, it
question.
was hidden
Jenny.
under the chat. Okay,
I have a question.
here we are in gallery.
Yeah, Kathy, go ahead.
Jenny, what camera did you use and effects did you use to film your pieces?
So I just used
Your
my
iPhone.
iPhone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's an iPhone, and then I did all the editing on iMovie. So I am in the Apple atmosphere.
Yes.
Yeah, the Apple group. But
And the effects are in the iMovie.
the effects are in the iMovie, and they're actually, that cartoony kind of style that I'm using is actually a filter.
Yeah.
So basically, I film everything, and then I will use the transitions there and the filters to create that effect.
Okay, and this is the biggest question: how do you get the lettering, of the words to go onto the film?
That's also iMovie. They have a thing called titles, and you just it's basically, you can just layer it over. You basically drag and drop it down onto your the piece of film at this timing that you want, and then you just type in what you want and it will automatically do it. There's different effects, so I don't play with the titles too much because I find they take away a lot from, there's a lot going on in the film. So it's a very simple one, but they have ones that slide across, or they'll split apart, or
Are there tutorials that explore that? Okay, great. So people can go to the tutorials and find out too. Excellent.
if you Google, if you go on YouTube and you look up iMovie, films, or just iMovie introductions or iMovie for beginners, that'll pretty much give you everything that I use, and it'll show you.
Great, good job. I really appreciate. I like film and music and songs, and I've seen lyrics done like that. But yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Awesome. Good luck.
Anybody else before we slip into the Q&A? We got time for one more comment, and if it's about technical stuff, we can maybe help you find tutorials. Okay. So Jenny, I just want to jump right in and ask you, I know we talked a little bit before, and we've talked over the years about your work anyway. When do you know whether a poem is to be a film, and do you always have a poem and then a film, or are there times when it's just a film? As, I mean, we know there are times when it's just a poem, but are there times when it's just a film? Well, how do you gauge what format you're going to present the work in?
Okay, that's a great question, Karen. So there's usually two factors I take into account. It's a little bit about what I can see in my head because when I write, I'm a very visual writer. Just want to
And
make sure I'm
can
not,
people please mute because I'm
yeah.
hearing some buzz in the background?
Uh,
Joan, and can you go ahead and mute? Thanks. Okay, go on.
Yeah, thank you. And so I'm a very visual writer. So usually if I can see it as I'm writing it in my head and I have these images, that's usually a good candidate. The other thing is it's also how much I want to control about my work. So there are some poems where like, yep, there's all these images, and I have to love reading them out loud too because I have to record these so many times to get a good take. It's that's probably one of the more tedious parts I think about making these films is the recording for me. Um, but sometimes going back to the control part, sometimes it's poems that I personally love, but I've never been able to find a home for. And that's most, well, I wouldn't say most, but a number of the poems that have been turned into short poetry films. Those are ones that I haven't been able to find a home for. And this is kind of my way of controlling, like giving them a home for myself. And there's some that I didn't want to find a home for. There's a very personal poem called Across. And it wasn't that I didn't trust other publishers to take it and do something with it, but sometimes, presses shut down or, the presentation isn't quite what you envision and it's just part of the process and I get it. But for that one, I wanted to basically control, like I wanted to read it, I wanted to present it. I kind of wanted to, keep it up there for as long as, YouTube stays alive. So that's what makes them good candidates. And then the big piece is I will see if I can storyboard a film around it. So, and it doesn't have to be fancy. This is my storyboard book, and all it is, and I apologize for my very bad drawings, but all it is just frames that I kind of am frames and ideas of what I want to do. And to the words. And if I can do that and I can get the full thing into a storyboard, then I know that I'm going to make it into a film. So that's for the poems that have been written. And Karen, you're right. Sometimes there is no poem. There's just this footage I've taken with my phone. And that's also kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to show Across, which is the film, August Storms Again, which is the film where it was the rain on the glass and just the single shot with nothing really happening. Because that one originally just came from just the footage. There was no poem with it. I just liked how the lighting and the thunder and the lightning and just the rain on the window was going. So I had this clip on my phone for like ever. And then I took it and eventually made it into a film because I really liked it. And it's more like an ekphrastic response to the footage. So there are more now, actually. There are times where I'll just take some footage and then I have an ekphrastic response to it, and I know I'm going to do something with it, so I'll keep it later. The film Cliffside is a great example. It's one I did last fall. It's one of my favorites that came out last year, and it's also one of my highest viewed films. And that was one that did not have a poem before it became a poetry film. It was just me on the ground next to the lake, just filming like sage bushes and wildflowers and water, and it turned out to be one of the more popular ones. So it goes both ways. Sometimes you have the poem and you turn it into a film, and other times you have the film and you turn it into a poem.
I have one final question. Actually, commentary for you to make and to respond to and answer. Nobody likes to make mistakes in their work. Can you speak to having made a mistake that actually ultimately helped you find your way towards a miracle after that mistake?
Yeah, well, yep, I think we can go with Karen, you're very familiar with them, compostable morsels. So I had made a bunch of very tiny, like I think 6-line poems, and I could not find, I loved them, but I couldn't find a home for them. And I was like, I guess I'm just gonna have to shelve them because no one wants these tiny little poems. And I was thinking, well, maybe I should try and do something with it. I'd never filmed before. So of course, when you're trying something new, there's always mistakes with filming. And I was so excited. I got the camera ready. I was gonna take all of these, like I think there were 6 of them. I was gonna do all 6 of them, and I had this image in my mind. I took the footage, I popped it on the computer, and I looked at it, and I hated the footage. I did not like at all what I had done, and I was so disappointed. I'm like, well, that's an idea that's not gonna work. But then it kind of stuck with me, and I'm like, well, maybe the footage, it kind of did what I wanted to, but it didn't look right. And this is where I started playing more in iMovie, and I got to that filter that we were talking about. And well, as soon as I put that filter on and I got doing the transitions, it clicked. Like it was like, this is what I wanted to see. And so sometimes, like I was about ready to be like, okay, I guess these little films aren't gonna these poems aren't gonna find a home. These little films aren't gonna go anywhere. And then I found that filter. And sometimes when you make a mistake, the correction that you do opens up a whole new door. So I got more familiar with iMovie, but the other thing is the filter actually kind of became more of a trademark of the rest of the films I made because I loved it so much. And I think sometimes, yes, you make mistakes, but sometimes the corrections, like they're made, you were meant to make those mistakes in order to find that correction that you were made to do something else with. So I hope that answers your question, Karen.
Yes, it does, Jenny. So how about another round of applause? And yay, Jenny girl. Great job. So,
Yay.
right? Yeah, exactly. And so now, Jenny, I'd like you to invite your special friends. I'm going to ask you real quickly. They are in the order that you sent to me, correct?
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm going to, for everyone else's information, I'm going to put the names and the links of her special guests in the chat once before they start and then once after they are done as a group reading, so you'll be able to access them as well. Okay, so I'm going to mute and Jenny.
All right. So this first reader, I met her online doing an anthology about superheroes, if you can believe it. And she is a superhero in her own right. She has the most amazing heart, and you can just tell by the amount of care and wonder she puts in her poetry that she's. You can just see it that she's amazing. I know Karen put in the chat, but I had planned to read the bios as well, so please forgive me while I do that. Pam Yve Simon, she, her, believes in love and art. She earned her Bachelor of Arts in English and American Literature from New York University. Her writing has appeared in print and online publications, including Analog Science Fiction and Fact, Famadan Journal, Northern Autumn Journal, and the Daily Drunk's Marvelous Verses Anthology. This is where we met, by the way. Her photography has appeared in Feral, Kissing Dynamite, and Acropolis Journal. Everyone, please welcome Pam Yve Simon.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jenny, so much. I'm absolutely flattered and floored because, as you know, those who know Jenny and know her work, her heart is as stunning as her work. So I want to thank her so much for inviting me here today to meet all of you lovely, lovely people, and also North Bay, Poetics for hosting this wonderful event. So I'm excited to read just a few poems. This is one that I haven't read before to an audience. This was published in Ramadan Journal. And it's actually, there was a call for poetry in other languages. So wrote it in French and English. So I'll be going back and forth between French and English. We got some fans. Excellent. Super cool. So, and I'm going to do my best. And here we go. It's called La danseuse de ballet et les réverbères. The ballet dancer and the street lamp. Parfois, je pense à toi et mon cœur tune comme une danseuse de ballet, belle et torturée. Sometimes I think of you and my heart spins like a ballet dancer, beautiful and tortured. Nos souvenirs sont les lettres d'amour qui n'a jamais écrites. Our memories are the love letters you never wrote. Pendant la nuit froide, la main vide, je haile un taxi. De bout de doigt, je tresse les étoiles. During the cold nights, empty-handed, I hail a cab. With my fingertips, I trace the stars. J'arrive à la jetée et je marche le long de l'océan. J'attends ton nom dans la vague qui s'écrase. I arrive at the pier and I walk along the ocean. I hear your name in the crashing waves. Il est temps de rentrer. Je marche à travers le parc dans la silhouette de la ville. Les gratte-ciel me couvrent comme de vos manteaux trop grands et trop réconfortants. It is time to go home. I walk through the park in the silhouette of the city. The skyscrapers cover me like your old coat, too big and too comfortable. J'arrête. C'est toi. Tu attends comme un réverbère, stoique et familier. I stop. It's you. You wait like a street lamp, stoic and familiar. Maintenant, montre-moi le chemin pour rentrer chez moi. Now, show me the way home. Thank you. Thank you. So that was that poem. And also, in honor of small presses, was published in Northern Otter Journal. Northern Otter Journal is Canadian press, lovely, lovely press to work with. So submit your work when they have calls. This poem was featured in issue number 3. It was a call for identity. As some of you may know, I write a lot about sort of sea creatures and how they speak a little bit to ourselves. So this poem is called Jellyfish Are Their Own Parachutes. Jellyfish float with strings attached to nothing but themselves. What a life to have all those strings and not have to tie them, not have to make music with them, not have to weave or fashion something from them, to be untethered and dangerous. I'd like to stop asking myself questions about my life. On those jellyfish strings are tentacled stings, missiles with venom. Jellyfish are fighter pilots with names to match. Lion's mane, cannonball, moon. Well, moon doesn't exactly feel powerful and heroic, but if you are alone in the dark, it does. I wish I could live like a jellyfish, following the ocean currents, appearing in cool or warm waters, at the bottom or on the surface of the ocean. Propelling myself forward, I wouldn't need a familiar climate or your touch to know that, yes, I can survive here. So thank you all again so much for having me here today. It was wonderful hearing from Jenny, and I can't wait to hear who's next. Thank you again.
Thank you, Pam. That was wonderful. Isn't she wonderful, everyone? I love her. She's so awesome. Okay. Thank you, Pam. Our next guest is our next guest reader. He has we've known each other for a while, since 2017. He was one of the very first editors that published my work when I was a baby. Well, when I was a new poetry submitter back in, yeah, so long ago. And he was one of those people that took a look at my work and kind of gave me my first glimpse of maybe this could be something. So I just want to say thank you, David, for being here. I'm just going to quickly read his bio, and then he can take it away. David Cruz is a writer who cares for work that explores land and place, wilderness, wildness, preservation, and serves as a board member with the Waterman Fund, as well as editorial advisor for Writing the Land. He is author of 3 poetry chapbooks and a collection of lyric essays. He doesn't say which, so I'm just going to briefly give a little bit of a sneak peek. He received an MFA in poetry from Drew University, where he studied with poet-artists Ross Gay, Araceli Skirmay, Ira Sadoff, and Judith Vollmer. David now lives and works on an organic fruit and vegetable farm in Vermont. Find him and his work at davidcruzpoetry.com and on Instagram at dcruzpoetry. Everyone, please welcome David Cruz.
Thank you, Jenny. It's an honor to be reading with you and to be sharing in the space with everyone here. Thank you. You can hear me all okay? Yeah? Okay. I'm going to read the opening poem to some new work that I've been, a latest project. It's a long lyric poem on the Hoosick River. I live in Southwest Vermont. It's a really interesting geological area. It's basically like an 80-mile valley with the southern Green Mountains of Vermont on the east side and the northern Taconic Mountains of New York on the west. Some people here call it the Vermont Valley. And it runs from Bennington, 75, 80 miles up to Rutland. It's ancestral lands of Mohio-Koniok and Western Abenaki peoples, most likely, winter hunting grounds. And if you leave the back door of the farm field here where I live and you hike up the mountain, you'll get to the summit of West Mountain. And if you cross over to the southwest side of the ridge, at that juncture, one would actually enter the Hoosick River watershed. So I'm living on the northern boundary, the ecotone of the watershed. And so that's what this opening poem sort of follows, that journey of the water. Hope you like it. Thank you. Carry it like the river, she says. I leave the back door, walk up the rise, farm fields west end, close the gate, follow the coyote's path into the woods, to the pine grove, where huge white pines loom into a canopy, not the first pines. Just beyond a slow descent to a mountain stream, its flute, cross it. Rocks, mineral gray, piled and scattered, slate, schist, into a mountain, into soft tufts of peat moss, broom and log moss, rock draped, fern covered, fallen trees. At the summit of West Mountain, 2,401 feet above the level of the sea, just south of Spruce Peak, Grass Mountain, the northern Taconics, western rim of what some call the Vermont Valley. Here, the watershed's ecotone. A turn from the compass rose. I open the map, feel its textures, where contours fall in crevasse, moraine, to recall the power of glacial striation, to know how mountains are sculpted, formed. From rock and cavern, water flows, springs in the forest that rise through limestoned earth. Here, land of chestnut-sided warblers, and no more chestnuts. I am a river. I once was a river. The rushing of Little White Creek fades, comes closer as I move towards source, spring, the water flowing over the falls on beds of moss-deepened stones, soaks into and down. The creek, perhaps little, it will grow, increasing. The more it falls away, the more it fills on its way to the sea. Some of the forest has been logged, most of it. These trees, not old growth. Who has touched more of the land, we or the river? And do the redstarts know? Do the ovenbirds know? Will the deep woods remain broken, draped in oak limbs strewn about, turkey tails climbing shaggy manes in the lower haunts? How the wind and rain shape the forest for the songs of black-throated blues, greens, winter wrens, and vireos. The thrushes collecting. How many are left? The river's water twists and turns down farm fields, under roads, the feeding streams given away by meandering groves of trees, collecting fertilizer and feed, cow manure, pesticides, tractor oil, and piss, fettered and pooling briefly to descend homemade rock dams as it drops to the Walloomsac, where fly fishermen scatter the slower waters under rusted out bridges, freight train crossings, recycling centers, water waste treatment plants, warehouses ruined. At Hoosick Falls, the water flows north past abandoned factories, mills, ghost mills, lost concrete structures along the river before the last push into the locks of the Hudson. Locals speak of a spot where, back in the 70s, the land was mined for gravel before protests shut the company down. Moses Farm, the land now called, at the terminus of the Owlkill. A confluence where rivers gather and stories say once was an intertribal meeting place at the meeting of the waters. Haudenosaunee, Abenaki, Mohiukonio, Hoosick, beyond place of stones. What does the river know? Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, David. I always feel like you're taking me on a hike whenever I hear you speak and read. That's wonderful. All right. Final reader. And I don't think she needs any introduction, but we will attempt to give her as much as I can. So the next reader is Karen Pierce Gonzalez, and she has been such a supporter of my work and the writing community in general. She is just such a beacon to all of us. And I call her a creative whirlwind because every time I talk to her, she is just creating something, a sculpture, a poem, a chapbook, and she is just amazing. Award-winning writer, performance poet, and artist, Karen Pierce Gonzalez's chapbooks include Coyote in the Basket of My Ribs, Down the River with Lee Poe, Raven Song, Sun and Moon Wired Together, and the forthcoming hybrid Moon-Kissed Earth-Wrought Vision Drunk. Over 70 of her art images, including city companions, are published, and her sculptural work has been exhibited in several West Coast galleries. Everyone, please give a warm welcome to Karen Pierce Gonzalez. Thank you so much, Karen.
Thank you, Jenny. So most of you already know me. So what I wanted to do today is I wanted to share something brand new to the world. Jenny's already been apprised somewhat of this. I just 2 days ago got accepted a hybrid work of art poetry collection that I'm thrilled to have found a home for because it includes 4-color art imagery. that coincides with the poetry. What I'd like to do now is just share the cover so you can get a sense of the artwork, which this cover is a collage of the 5 art images that are in the collection. So I'm going to open it up now, and this is the cover of the collection.
Oh,
My mock-up cover. And this is all of the art. These are fiber art pieces. This is a bit of spice that I Star and Ice from Israel that I hand painted. And then there's collages with rose hips and all kinds of things. That's the cover for the collection. What I'd like to do is read you the first 3 pieces of the collection. And so I shall begin. Oh, did I stop the sharing? Okay, hang on just a second. Okay. I opened it and closed it by mistake. Give me just a minute. Okay. I'm really delighted to read these to you as well. Moon kissed, earth rot, vision drunk. I wake at midnight. Your name's on my lips. Ninsun, Shaduri, Shamat, mother, crone, lover. Moon kissed, earth rot, vision drunk. Your Mesopotamian shade between rivers of remembrance casts a gilded epic net over humanity's muddied efforts to dominate rather than develop. The mesh uplifts what's buried by the sludge of such gluttony. Lost in that sentiment, I am undertowed with fear. You meld what mortal flaws you can in the searing flames of a Uric Valley forge to shape them into tools of service. What would you have of mine? In response, you plunge me head first into the rush of a spillway. Afraid of drowning, I must keep up with the current. It is too late now to do anything else. Ninsun, the maternal. If I become any more beautiful than I am right now, because happiness in the beat of my being is growing lovelier, I might go back into the shadows of your womb where safety is a hidden pocket. Tucked away from those who would chattel me, I search for the umbilical cord between us, but again you scoop me back out into the world, written on the palm of your sun-warmed hands. Do not run from yourself. Be radiant, be striking, be bold in both word and vision. Meant to guide me, your words confuse. I lose track. I cannot recall the chant you give me. Unwilling to budge, I pretend not to feel your fingers on my shoulders. Tap, tap, tap. You pick me up by the bones of my nature. Beneath the raku of my skin, the slanted alphabet of speech wakes sleeping birds nesting alongside me in the draped folds of your gown, fuchsia black. I whisper, what? What is the weight of me? What is my weight on the scale of this spindly world? I hear hushed tones. Take in the fullness of who you are. I do not yet know that measure, but slowly, slowly, slide away from your protective pouch. Try again to find my way. It is a chore. When you promise, I will learn without getting lost. And the final in this set. One foot and then another. This is how I walk. After first crawling the path before me, never sure of where it will end, of how many steps I will need to take, knowing only that each one becomes one less. Such is my night comfort. By day, neither swaddled nor cradled, I find no shimmery strands of insight to knot into a basket that holds me as I fall further into your surging waters. I close my eyes and gasp for air. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Let's have everyone unmute and thank
All
the
three of
readers.
our special friends.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Wonderful.
So wonderful.
Mhm.
Every single one. It's great, great, great.
Right? Right?
That was fantastic. Everyone, fantastic. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Progress.
Yes. So it looks like waiting list, we're going to be able to slide you in to the open mic session. What I'm going to do first of all, though, is again in the chat, I'm going to put Jenny's contact information and the contact information of all of her special friends. Okay, so everyone's got that one more time. And now I'm going to also put in the order to read the open mic readers. Looks like there's one person who maybe isn't here. We'll find out in just a minute, won't we? This is the order of the open mic readers, and it includes those on the waiting list. So before I ask, I think one person isn't here who had signed up. So, well, two, the one, Marcel looks like from Wales. I mean, it's, 12:30 right now where she is at night, and she's got two kids. So, it's not easy. I mean, she was probably trying to stay up, drinking as much tea as she could, knowing Marcel, but she had to give way to fatigue and kids. So we might have room for one more open mic to be put on the waiting list. Is anybody else up for the challenge, the last minute impromptu?
I'll do it.
Who is I'll do it?
Oh, Abby, I have my video off because I'm on my phone. I
All
can't
right,
figure.
that's fine. Okay, I'm gonna put you on the list, Abby, and you will go after Joan, okay?
Is
And
that
Abby, just so you know, everyone gets one page, a one-page poem, and they have up to 2 minutes, and that includes any conversation they want to have about their piece. Okay?
Okay,
So
great.
it looks like the first reader is Santa Teresa, and I don't see her here. Is she here?
Not seeing her.
Okay, all right. Then let's go on to Karen Fitzgerald. You're next, and then on deck will be Barbara, and then their list, and then Michael and Shauna, Joan, and Abby. All right, everybody, go for it.
Say it slowly so I can try and get the.
They're all in the chat.
Oh, okay.
I have the list in the chat. I'm
Oh, I
used to
see
doing
it,
that
I
for
see it, I see
other
it.
mics, so people
Perfect.
know when they're on deck and they know when it's their turn. Okay?
I'm
Right.
up. Okay, here we
Yes.
go. This is titled Two Birds Talking. Tell me, elder mine, with grizzled wings and blurry eyes, beak all worn and weary, I seek you out to learn what lessons you have for my hatchlings. How did you come by your longevity? Was there turbulence in your first flight, or does that last forever? At what age did you learn to perch, to launch, to glide, to swoop? How did you acquire the ability to navigate one airstream to another? Were you preyed upon much? And what did you prey upon to nurture your journey into these elder years? Have you lessons for my hatchlings? Me? More stupid daily. I've only this to tell. That on which my talons rest is guest to marshland grasses, and guests are they to earth. So it is with all winged or legged, creepers, crawlers, those who swim, those who slither. visitors for a small stretch of time. Teach your hatchlings that life takes practice. Aim to be a good beginner. Trust your instincts. Pay attention.
It's
And
sweet.
wake more stupid every morning. A beginner again. Practice daily. We are only guests, momentary, here and now. Practice, moment to moment. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful, Karen. Thank you. Thank you very much. Beautiful. Okay, thank you. Barbara Ann Abbott, are you ready to go?
I
And on
am.
deck after you is Michael Verga.
Can you hear me fine?
Yeah, I want you to speak a little louder.
Okay. This is a ekphrastic poem, and this is a very familiar painting called Christina's World by Andrew Wyeth. It's a picture of a woman looking toward a house out in the distance on a prairie. I'm going to read it to you. It's my interpretation only. It's nothing like the intent of the painter. So here it goes. And I don't really have a title for it because I just started it a little while ago in a class. Here it goes. In the distance, I see the silhouette of my humble home, a solitary prairie farmhouse amidst the vast expanse of golden fields in the middle of somewhere. I lay cradled in the field of low grass under an infinite sky, savoring the peacefulness around me. It's my time to revel in a moment of tranquility as I temporarily escape from the relentless drudgery of home life, where my needy family waits for me in the confines of those four walls ahead. My life is hard. I embrace this luxurious feeling of solitude with gratitude, a temporary feeling of my tortured soul, healing of my tortured soul. A soothing summer breeze sweeps over me as I lay here in meditation, uplifting me out of my day-to-day struggles. Soon, the sereneness I desperately crave is restored in me. Connection to my loved ones is renewed and strengthened. These rare moments of alone time feed my spirit and calm my nerves like a magic potion, restoring a profound sense of peace. I'm now prepared to reclaim my rightful place in the sanctuary of my home, where my heart belongs, ready to face another day.
Beautiful, lovely, Barbara. Thank you so much. Great ekphrastic work. Thank you. Okay, wonderful. So next up is Michael Verga, and on deck is Shauna. Michael, are you here? Okay. In spirit only, I suspect. Okay. Shauna, you're up, and then Joan, you're on deck.
Hi, everybody. Wonderful, wonderful poetry. Enjoyed everything I've heard so far. Just wonderful. And I wrote this piece in January, the day after Donald's inauguration. And it's kind of how I'm trying to live through some kind of scary times. Nature is how I find my way through it. So I'm gonna see if I'm trying to read off my phone. Okay. January 21st, 2025, after the second inauguration of Donald J. Trump. I meant to write something significant about politics, regime changes, and what wise hope we might cling to. But this morning, a dense fog whirls like apparitions between the valley oaks and Douglas firs. Droplets form and fall everywhere as I breathe deep the cool infused air, moisture glazing my face. As if time is just beginning, as if I'm newly born into this glaucous womb world, I see nothing of what lies ahead. But trepidation takes wing when a sudden happiness nests in me. I didn't know I could abide for a moment in a cloud, clinging to nothing. I didn't know fog could hush a morning like falling snow. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Beautiful, great imagery. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Shauna. Next we have Joan, and then after Joan, anybody who wants to put in the chat your book, links to your book, your website, it's your chance to do so. So Joan, you go ahead and close us out.
Mute, you're on mute. Where is she?
Joan, can you unmute yourself?
And don't forget Abby.
This is one of my Canadian poems. Weather gets in her way. She runs out of the house with no jacket to see him scrape the windshield from last night's freezing rain that silvers the twigs into icicle fingers, frozen like her hands that can't reach out. He turns the motor over 4 or 5 times, her tongue numbed by cold that does not call him back. The rusted Chevy lumbers off, leaves the extension cord still plugged into its power post that sends threads of energy to empty space. Silent snake in the snow, alive with current. Back inside, she catches the weather forecast. Late afternoon chance of snow, and tries to remember how they splayed under spring lilacs with winter snow forgotten. Thank you.
Oh, it's beautiful. Lovely end. Thank you so much for that. So Abby, my apologies. I had put your name in there in a second block of list. So Abby, would you like to close out the open mic? Shall we try it again?
I'd love to. I don't know if my video is on. I'm on my little phone and it's a
You
little
can,
erratic.
as long as we can hear you, it counts.
Sounds good. I had fun with this poem. It's a sonnet and it's titled Ode to Iceberg Lettuce. Though still unravished round of let me start again. Ode to Iceberg Lettuce. Thou still unravished round of iceberg lettuce, we long abandoned you when we were young, in search of denser greens grown in salinas, organic, darker minerals unsung. Before our unforgiving climate parched our soils and rendered easy moisture scarce, we loved romaine, arugula, and chard. Green and purple kale were common fare. Now you're home again, and we unwrap you and gently bathe your leaves, longing for lunch. Promises of pleasure tween each layer, juicy, plump release with every crunch. On bed of sandwich joy we soon shall be, a languid, lavish lush, and gush won't kill thee.
Wrap it up.
Funny.
Thank you so much, Abby. Wow, so let's do a round of applause, unmute for everyone, audience and readers alike, because without audience, readers don't happen. Okay, so we need everybody on the team. Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. It was
Thank you,
wonderful.
Karen,
Thank you.
Anna.
Thank you.
Jenny,
And if you
everybody.
want, please again, Rita, I know you posted earlier before everyone got here. An earlier post means that not everyone who's online will see it. Only the people who are online at the time it's posted. So Rita, if you want to repost the link to your books, and if anybody else, I know Francine, I think you might have a class or two coming up. Maybe you just can post something really quickly in the last couple of minutes. in the chat. I mean, it's your opportunity to wave the flag and say, mercy me, here I am.
Okay.
And I'd
Right.
like to reiterate, anybody who's not on our announcement list, I send out 3 or sometimes 4 announcements. The last one comes within 2 hours with just the link. Send me a note saying you want to be on the list. It's info@northbaypoetics.net. And you're reaching me, Anna.
Fantastic. Thank you, Anna, for reminder. And look at Casey. Hello, Casey. I didn't get to say hello to you because I guess you showed up when I started talking, and you know how difficult I am to interrupt. But Casey's book, Poems from the Other Side, he's got a ton of work, lots of poetry, lots of art. Anna Citrino has posted, Abby has posted, hoping Amrita still posts, and well, there you have it. Aren't we just rich with embarrassments of quality, right? Quality and talent. Forsooth, forsooth, forsooth. Like the iceberg lettuce, you know? So, so that's it for my part. Anna, I'm giving it back to you, my friend, and you do what you will with the last 60 seconds.
The last 60 seconds. Well, one thing I'd like to do is I'd like to welcome Basia. Am I saying your name right? I have not.
It's Beja, like Asia with a B.
Oh, well, sorry.
It's okay.
I don't recall meeting you before, and I want to welcome you to this group, and I hope that you liked what you've heard, and I hope that you'll come again and you'll be a reader and really, and of course, everybody else who I've never met, same thing goes. But I know some of you came specifically for Jenny. So, Beja, how did you find us?
I am a friend of David, and also I edited with Jenny briefly at Platform Review and Literary Magazine. And so, yeah.
Great. Well, listen, come back, please. And if you're interested in presenting, reach out to Karen or reach out to me. And Robin isn't here, so you don't know her to reach out to her, but it doesn't matter. Just let us know and we'll get you a program. And of course, you can bring all your friends. There's nothing like meeting all the new poets and the people that I hadn't heard before. Jenny, oh my God, fantastic. And your crew, what a support team, I have to say. I'm familiar with Karen's work, but I hadn't heard any of the rest of yours. So this has been absolutely wonderful. Thank you. And next month, we're up on the 15th, and it's with Lisa Schulman. And I know it's going to be a great program. So come back.
Fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. And special thank you again to Pam and David for showing up and being part of the flock that follows Jenny. I mean, pretty soon we'll be a herd. I don't know if there's a herd. So, I don't know. What do you call a group of poets? A flock, a herd, a tribe,
We should
a
come
den?
up with a name.
Let's come
Yes,
up with
we
something.
should.
Well, this is Jenny's particular, so maybe she should come up with the name for
That's
us.
right.
Give
How
us a
about a
name.
stanza?
Oh, there you go. Okay,
A stanza of poets.
sounds good.
Good.
Really beautiful, everyone. Wow, and thank you, and wow. Okay.
All
All
right.
right.
Well, I think that
Yeah.
does it for today. I'd say we could hang out, which I will often do, but I only got home from a high intense week last night. I got to unpack my suitcase.
I've got to go comb my hair.
So see
Ciao.
you next
Ciao,
month.
everybody. Jenny, I'll touch bases with you later, my friend, okay? And just, your work was beautiful. I'm really glad everybody else got to see how beautiful it is.
Bye.
And
Okay?
thank you, Karen.
Yeah.
Once again, you have outdone yourself. Every program gets better. Wow.
Well, it's a high standard, my friend. Oh my God.
Well, you're only
I mean, and you know, I have 3 of the next 4. Thank God I like them all, you know?
you know, it's going to be a pretty exciting spring into summer.
Yeah, it'll
All
be a great
right.
group.
Well,
All right, ciao, everyone.
Goodbye. So
Thank you.
goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace out, everybody. Peace out.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care. Be well.
Bye-bye. Hey, Tony. Okay,
All right. Bye.
bye.